Chris had a horrible accident where he was working at a press, and as he was pushing material into the press, the guard failed, and the press came down and amputated his hands, both of them across this line, from the base of the thumb across to the wrist. So he retained his thumbs, but he lost everything else. And furthermore, it was sloping away, so he had not even a nubbin to work his thumbs against. We saw him 2 years ago and began evaluating him then. And just over 10 days ago, well, in the last 10 days, he underwent a bilateral hand transplant.
Is that?
It's the first time we've done that in the UK. It's the first time, as far as I'm aware, that a hand transplant's been done which hasn't been above the wrist, but has been within the substance of the hand, which makes it much more difficult and more complex. So as far as I know, those are unique features. It's exactly right. Nobody cares what their kidney looks like, as long as it works. But not only do we have to match the hands immunologically in the same way we have to match the kidneys and livers, but they also have to look appropriate because the hands are on view the whole time. And so, in a way, that makes the job of finding the correct donor even harder, and is a good reason why we're very keen that people bear this in mind when making a donation. I think because hand transplantation is such an unusual thing, people have been slow to donate, and we've certainly had many opportunities to ask for donations that haven't been given, and I think that's entirely understandable. I think I should emphasise that the people who work for National Health Service Blood and Transplant have the very difficult job of asking for donations at the time of the death of a loved one, and that's extraordinarily difficult to ask and extraordinarily difficult to make that decision. But I think now that hand transplantation is a reality and people can see the good it does, I hope they'll consider making that donation as readily as they do liver and kidney and heart and lung. Well, I can give you an idea of the complexity. I think when all the structures that pass into the hand go past the wrist, they split up into lots of very small structures to provide each digit with its nerves, arteries, veins, tendons. And each of those has to be repaired individually. We had 8 surgeons for 12 hours working on this with a volunteer team of 15 people. So it was a long and quite a complex day. Chris is doing really well. We're in the first 10 days still. And the measure of success, it's interesting that you asked me about movement, because everybody latches onto movement, but of course it's very important that he regain the feeling as well. And I would anticipate, I'd expect that he'll regain very good movement and very good feeling. Movement at his level of transplantation, we should anticipate very good function. Sensation is related partly to age, and those of us who are over 16 don't recover as well as those under 16, but he's a healthy man and I think he will recover good sensation.
Into account.
There is a huge psychological aspect, and the biggest screening process we undertake is the psychological screening to make sure the patients understand the concepts, that they're prepared to commit to it, that they are reliable, they will take the medications, they'll go through the program, they'll rehabilitate the way they need to do. So that's very important. And then of course the psychological impact of having hands or not having hands is very great, because like the face, they're on view all the time. And you look at and judge hands for their beauty and what they're saying and how they communicate and what they do and what they tell you about the person. So Chris's most rewarding comment to date is that he feels whole again, and that's incredibly important.